Kyle Meredith with the Weekly Feed. I'm sitting next to Shara from My Brightest Diamond, who's back with this amazing new record. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This has been I'd say a heck of a ride over the past decade, coming from, I don't know, whatever beginnings to where you are now, because I feel like you're poised to kind of take over everything with this new record. This is my hand. And it's one of the most, original records out there, and I think you've kind of maybe defined your sound by this point, still with trying new things, but to kind of see it build up to this. Anyway, we're all really proud of you.
Thank you.
And that's what I'm trying to say.
Thank you so much.
With a record like this, and I guess with all of your records, do you have to go into it thinking about concepts? Because I feel like there's a little bit of a concept running throughout the record and everything. When you're starting lyrically, and you're like, okay, it's time to do a record, and this is what it's going to be about. Does that come to you? Do you have to do it that way? When you have to say, there has to be a concept, and this is what it has to be?
For this album, for sure there was.
Yeah.
I started out reading, just kind of asking what the value of music is. Because the industry has changed so much, and when you go to make a record these days, you really have to think, what am I doing, and what is this for, and why am I doing this in the first place? Well, I love it.
Yeah.
But then the next question was, okay, well, what does music mean to me, and what do I want to say, and why do I want to say it? And so I started reading, just researching and gathering and listening and taking in lots of information, like Daniel Levitin's book, The World in 6 Songs, in which he talks about the 6 themes throughout human history in songwriting. So I was like, okay, there's my 6 themes. And then I was thinking, all right, well, here we are, we're all gathered together in this concert. How can I facilitate community? If we're like this imaginary tribe gathering around in the concert,
Right.
Let's sing, let's dance, let's hear ghost stories from the shaman, let's, engage with one another. So I made a little list of what I thought the audience
so
could
drawn
do.
out. This is amazing, yeah.
And then I have my little themes.
Yeah.
And then I coincidentally became obsessed with marching bands.
Which is how the record starts out.
That's it.
Yeah, right there. I haven't really heard of anyone like Pete Townsend did that back in the 70s when he was trying to do the Lighthouse Project, thinking of it in that kind of terms, like what can music mean and how can it relate to an audience. Of course, he wasn't able to realize that back then. But that's also something like only artists will think about this. For us as fans, it's like pick up the record and hit play.
Yeah.
And hopefully have this amazing connection to it, But it's there's so much, no pun intended, so much more pressure on your all's side, to try to put it all together. The other, I guess, really impressive thing you've really been able to do here is have your art realized without having to sacrifice hooks. Because, for a lot of artists, when they try to come up with a big conceptual piece and everything, I think they can forget about the songwriting, and being able to sing along and everything. But you pull this interesting trick where every song is singable, even if it's a bit more avant-garde or about outside. How do you do that? Which is not an easy question. That's even a throwaway question. But there is so much pop put into these odd songs. Is pop a big thing in your life?
Yeah.
Are choruses a big thing in your life?
I love me some good choruses. I love them.
It's just, like I said, you don't get that. You don't get that with a lot of stuff. And with your song Lover Killer, and even relating it to pop, in the most off sort of way, I started thinking, this is just like Journey's Don't Stop Believin'. Not on the surface. But eventually, down the line, it's like that song, for whatever it was, or for whatever that song is, you go through this entire piece building up to this big payoff at the end, which is the only time they ever say the words "Don't Stop Believing," and you finally get to that lover-killer part, and that's when it comes in. So, well done. I don't know how you put that song together, but well done there. The album ends with kind of uncertainty, apparition. Why?
That's the ghost story.
That's the ghost story. That's the ghost story of the whole thing.
Yeah, that song was from, I studied opera in college, and there was this song by Claude Debussy called Apparition, and the text is by Mallarmé. And I always loved this beautiful image of this person who sees a kind of ghost, and the ghost has a kind of a halo, a hat of light, and they drop these flowers, and he says, "You are a spoiled child," you know. But he's also like kind of enraptured by this ghost. And so I translated the text, and that's the last song.
It is to hear kind of the album build up that way, and suddenly, I don't know, I guess like an apparition, it just kind of is out there, and it's almost like this uncertainty feeling I have, like, where does this go now? You know, where can she take this after this? I like the idea of the denouement, like the fact that we need to ease. It's like in yoga practice or something, when you have the corpse pose at the end. Right. Like, you've come on this journey, and then you need a little bit of transition time before you go into the next thing. And the last song on a record, I often think of in that way. Just going to the next thing. That's nice. I will now hear that differently. Thank you. I don't mean to get into like early life biography, but with all of this, like, there was a bit of a religious background with you growing up, right?
A bit.
Right. I'm trying to undersell it because we're not really going to go all the way there. But does that, because when I listen to your music, it's almost still evident that that's somewhere in there. Does that still play a big part of your life? Like all of that past with religion and everything, does that still play a big part of your life with the style, with your lyrics and things like that?
Well, for those who don't know, my grandfather was a traveling evangelist for 50 or 60 years, and my father was doing music in church for much of my life. And so I definitely think that the idea of seeing your family care about community and seeing my family facilitate people making music together is very much a part of this album. And when one of the 6 themes in Daniel Levitin's book is religion, I thought, what in the world am I going to do for this theme? Like, Daniel, why are you giving me this task? So the song Shape talks about the nameless one, that this nameless thing is at one moment in a whisper, and in another moment it's in a storm, and another moment it's in all these different forms. And then the end, I imagined everyone voguing, and everybody take a different shape, is like this nameless thing manifesting in all of the people in the audience, making their own unique expression.
You say, imagining this. Is it something where when you're playing this down, almost, I don't know, I get like this meditation kind of feel from you. Do you have to concentrate on that? It's like, what is it going to be?
Yeah, just
Or is it just arrive? Or is it just,
just
something like that?
No, everything comes from the imagination.
Well, sure. Maybe I set that one up too easily.
I mean, I think it's probably the difference between being on, this is the 4th My Brightest Diamond album, but it's the 7th album that I've written, and I've made lots and lots of other records with other people. So I think at this point, music making isn't just like, well, how do I feel today? It's like something that I go to, like Leonard Cohen said, that he presented himself to the work. He put on the suit and went to the office, and it doesn't mean that discipline or thoughtfulness negates fun or spontaneity at all.
It can still work hand in hand.
Yeah.
Did the move back to Detroit help? Because I know you left New York. People don't move to Detroit these days, I feel like. It's just, with all we read about the news, it's not something you hear about. And you hear about an artist saying, I moved to Detroit for a reason. Did that help with the art? Was that part of it? That you had to leave New York to say, if I don't know what the reason was, but is it one of those where I have to go somewhere else if I'm going to survive?
Yeah, I needed a change for sure. And Detroit's a really interesting place because it's still, while the kind of house music from the early 90s is not happening as consistently as it was back then, dance culture is still very much a part of Detroit. And the gather around in the backyard around the fire is happening there. And there's going to be flour thrown down in the kitchen on the wooden floor, and Stevie Wonder is going to get thrown on, or Michael Jackson, and there's going to be a spontaneous dance party. So I think Detroit influenced that thinking. There's also tons of marching bands in town. So I think all that stuff.
Why is that?
relates
I mean, is
to
it just the
Detroit.
schools, or people starting marching bands for fun?
Both.
Really? So
Yeah.
that's now becoming a thing.
Yeah, there's the Detroit Party Marching Band, and they are awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I know I've seen, I can't remember the name of the band. It was like a 30-piece group that was kind of toured around a few years ago. But I really didn't know it was catching on at this point. Like, let's start a marching band.
Yeah, it's so cool. There's this whole phenomenon
Yeah.
around the country, and all these marching bands know each other, and they all are going to these festivals. And there's Honk in Austin, and there's a Honk in Boston. And so as I'm meeting these different sort of cabaret punk marching band people, they're like, oh, you should call so-and-so in Portland, and you should call so-and-so in
Stuff like that.
Austin. And
It's hard enough to keep a band together with like 3 guys.
yeah, these are like 30-piece bands.
Then I guess you don't really notice when someone drifts out, I guess. You can just pop somebody else in, so maybe
They're
it's easier.
really intimate communities,
Yeah.
actually, and really like very democratic, and it's been really, really fascinating getting to know the marching band circuit.
Yeah, I've got to check that out. Thank you, Shara.
Absolutely.
For everything, for
Thank
the new
you,
My Brightest
Kyle.
Diamond record. It's so nice to meet you.
You too.
And we'll see you down the road.
Okay.
All right.